Hey there, guys. All right, today we are back with some more miscellaneous myths. It's a cow. That's all I got from the thumbnail. So it's a myth about a cow. Hope it's a nice cow. I hope the cow doesn't die. Based on the name, this is Greek. Yeah. Um. huh. if I record my videos a lot in bulk, so I just got done recording yesterday's episode, which was the video on Great War Week 50. I'm still not fully recovered from the images shown in that video, so hopefully this miscellaneous myths can distract my brain from the horrific images from what is yesterday's video. Before we dive in, though, make sure you check out the links in the description box below. I would love it if you joined the Discord and followed me over at Twitch. Now that all of that is out of the way, let's go ahead and dive right in.
So here's an interesting thing about Ovid. Despite being an incredibly popular poet around the turn of the 0th millennium, Ovid was exiled by Emperor Augustus for somewhat unclear reasons that might have involved criticizing his controversial marriage laws and also banging his daughter, and perhaps...
Wait a minute, who... This man banged the Emperor Augustus's daughter? Nice.
Because of this, Ovid's work has a very noticeable anti-authoritarian bent to it. It's hard to spot unless you have access to the earlier versions of the myths he retells, but for example, maybe most notoriously, his telling of the story of Perseus and Medusa is wildly different than any prior citation of Medusa's origins. Rather famously, Ovid cites Medusa as a victim of two atrocities. First, her assault by Poseidon in the Temple of Athena, and second, her transformation by Athena into a horrifying monster as punishment for being assaulted. This telling is so popular that to this day, people are still arguing over whether Athena did a cool feminist thing by making Medusa immune to being assaulted, or if she did an evil unfeminist thing by victim blaming her so hard her face turned inside out. This entire...
That is the most popular, I'd say most popular form of Medusa's origin. Because I think it's also even the one used by Rick Riordan in Percy Jackson. Except obviously I don't think he talks about, the assault part. But I think he talks about it being Athena and Poseidon screwing over Medusa. I reread the books last year, and I can't remember the details.
argument is dumb because Ovid made it up. Right up until the Metamorphosis was published, Gorgon Medusa was characterized as a bona fide monster from birth till death, one of 3 Gorgon sisters and the daughter of primordial ocean deities Phorcys and Keto, who are also responsible for lovely individuals like Echidna, a giant snake woman whose primary claim to fame in the mythos is spawning off every monster ever by mating with the ancient Greek equivalent of Godzilla. So yeah, Medusa as tragic victim, nice piece of creative writing from Ovid, but really not based on anything. But by providing Medusa with a backstory like that, he transforms the narrative from God's aid heroes in slaying monsters to God's toy with the lives of men, well, usually women actually, and wreak horrifying collateral damage as a consequence. And like I mentioned in the Arachne video, Athena's motives for turning Arachne into a spider are painted by Ovid as being
Shit, we just watched that one.
distractingly selfish and jealous, which really doesn't jive with her broader characterization. In short, Ovid has a well-documented habit of playing up the tragedy of powerless mortals being jerked around and abused by an uncaring pantheon full of assholes, even when that doesn't necessarily jive with the source material he has to work with. But there's one flavor of Greek myth where Ovid's hot takes work really, really well, and that's every story where Zeus and Hera inadvertently conspire to ruin some poor woman's life. So today, let's talk about Io and how she got stuck in the worst custody battle ever. So our story begins, as so many do, with a beautiful...
Oh no! She's gonna get turned into a cow? Zeus! Why are you banging a cow? Don't bang a cow.
Woman minding her own business when Zeus abruptly takes it into his head that she's the one true love of his life. When the woman in question...
Rejoice, mortal, for I have decreed that we shall bang! Oh god. OSP.
Io, as it turns out, sees the Lord of the Skies appear before her in a crackling blaze of divine glory and orders her to follow him into the dark spooky woods so they can have sex. She does the smart thing and runs away before he finishes the elevator pitch. Unfortunately for Io, this doesn't do her much good, as Zeus conjures up a discreet cover of storm clouds and chases her down to, Yep. Real cool of you, Zeus.
No.
But meanwhile, up in Olympus, Hera notices
Zeus, you motherfucker!
This is the suspicious mass of storm clouds covering up an otherwise innocuous patch of grease, and decides to check it out. What she finds is a very innocent-looking Zeus and a very unhappy cow. The cow is, unsurprisingly, Io, who Zeus has cunningly transformed in the hopes that Hera wouldn't possibly think he'd be having sex with an animal, because apparently Zeus has the self-awareness of a stump-tailed macaque. Unfortunately for Zeus, Hera knows him a little too well, and upon observing the unhappy bovine, she declares it an absolutely beautiful cow, and kindly requests that Zeus give it to her as a gift. Zeus, recognizing that denying his wife an extremely ordinary cow would look very suspicious, agrees, and Hera leads Io off to her pastures and places her under guard to make sure Zeus doesn't try any funny business. The guard in question is Argus, a giant with 100 eyes and the power to only sleep with 2 of them at a time, letting him be constantly vigilant with the other 98. So Io is well fed, decently cared for, and largely allowed to wander where she wants, but she's still a cow and is unsurprised.
Yeah! I'd be pretty pissed about the events that have transpired too!
Surprisingly miserable, what with the eating grass and sleeping in the dirt, and being deprived of her very humanity by the selfish machinations of the world's most powerful man-child. She manages to—
And, you know, I'm assuming assaulted by Zeus. Ugh. Man. First the video discussing the Armenian genocide, and now, because this is, I don't think, have really any of the miscellaneous myths? I think this is the only one so far that we've really watched where, at least going off the top of my head, where there is, you know, not consent. Is this really the first one where that's been a thing? I swear there has to have been at least one more, because the Greeks were fucked up. No, I think, no, there was one. Well, it was the sleeping dude, I think. That guy got it during his sleep. Is that the only other one? Oh, there has to be more. I'm just forgetting them. Man, first the Armenian genocide video the other day, or yesterday's video that I recorded before this one. Now this. Ugh. Ugh.
To track down her father, the river god Inachus, and while she obviously can't talk, she writes out her sorry condition in the dirt, and Inachus freaks out that this poor sad cow is his missing daughter. Argus leads Io away to graze on a distant mountain, but by this point Zeus is feeling really bad about Io's situation and can't help but feel the teensiest bit responsible for her predicament, so he calls—
A teensiest bit? Is it a booty call? Kinda. Fine.
On Hermes and asks him to free Io from Argus's watch. So Hermes straps on his winged sandals, grabs his helmet, steals a herd of goats for the road, and pops down to earth disguised as a humble shepherd playing a sweet melody on some panpipes. Argus is intrigued by the instrument and invites the innocuous shepherd over to chat. After regaling him with
So after she turned into reeds to escape Pan, it was like, well, we can still make some music.
the long and boring tale of the panpipe's creation, Hermes gradually manages to lull Argus to sleep. And after using a little Caduceus magic to make sure he stays that way, Hermes seals the deal by cutting off Argus's head. But Hera—
What the fuck? You just needed to put him to sleep. You didn't need to chop his fucking head off.
is furious at Io for some reason. So after first immobilizing Argus by placing his eyes on the tail of her peacock, she sends a fury after Io to relentlessly chase her down and torment her. Io is chased all over the Mediterranean, during which time she bumps into the captured Prometheus, who raises her spirits slightly by prophesizing that she'll return to her true form and also be the ancestress of the greatest hero of all time, and she also gives birth to a daughter in Thrace named Caroessa, who eventually goes on to have a son with Poseidon, who in turn goes on to found the city of Byzantium. Nifty. Eventually, Io—
Yeah, sure. Kinda nifty, but where'd she get the child? Is the child Zeus's?
was driven to the banks of the Nile River, where she tips over, and Zeus begs Hera to let Io go and swears on the stakes that he won't try any more weird sex stuff with her. Hera relents, recalls the fury, and Io returns to her true human form. Io gets a lovely and well-earned happily ever after as she marries an Egyptian king, gives birth to a son named Epaphus, is widely worshipped as a god, and never has to deal with Zeus again. Also, Prometheus—
Okay. At least she got a happy ending. Well, there's still 30 seconds left. This could go bad.
Theseus' prophecy comes true several generations down the line with the birth of Heracles, Io's great-great-great-great-great-great-great-great-grandson. Worth it. And you see me.
Sure. I swear if I see one more argument about about Medusa that involves the phrase, the real story. I'm going to throw something through a window. Mythology has no canon. There is no real story. Just an endless chain of retellings branching through time and space. Someone saying the real story of Medusa has a goddess blaming a rape victim is meaningless. One story of Medusa has that. And we already know why the author painted it like that. Not to say Ovid's version is more or less real than those that came before it, but in his case, we can identify an overt authorial bias leading to a much more uncharitable adaptation of the myth than previous versions. Hell, it seems likely he fabricated the whole tragic backstory from scratch. Ovid's version exists and is a very useful source, but it's not the real story. It is one very angry, jaded man taking out his anger at the emperor of the gods. This is why I will never agree with death of the author. It's so much more interesting to analyze the work through the author. Screw Zeus, someone should really overthrow that guy. I agree. Carolessa means the horned, but I didn't have any evidence that she actually had horns. Whatever. Horns are cool. Horns are cool. That was a lot of words at the end there. Okay. Well, at least she got a happy ending. That's something, at least. Most Greek mythological figures do not get happy endings, especially when they are women, so got that going for you, EO, I guess. Still rough. I don't know what else to say. God, I just love Red's way of telling stories. She is very, very good at it. Yeah. She's very good at telling stories, and her art is also really fucking cool. But that was Miscellaneous Myths EO. I hope you guys enjoyed. Remember to hit that like button and subscribe for more. I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.